La 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 lava, chicken, chicken, chicken. Steve's lava chicken. Yeah. It's tasty as hell. Oh, mamacita. Now you're ringing the dinner bell. Crispy and juicy. Now you're having a snack. Oh, super spicy. It's a lava attack. Sorry. That's me waking up my voice. I don't know. Everyone keeps saying that I look either like Jack Black or Luke Smith from Bungie, or used to be at Bungie. But yeah, I just woke up. We're doing our Monday morning video, and I figured why not express the vocals. No, I'm not a singer. No. I'm telling you guys, you never know what to expect. Subscribe. That's right, scholars. Subscribe. You never know what you can expect from these intros, because they're always random. And I think I like it that way. Makes it interesting. Keeps you on your toes. Keeps me on my toes. Or in this case, on my butt. Anyways, let's move on to the course of the video. Nope, it's not the song. Yeah. I only know the first part of the song, by the way. My students are always loving that song. I only know lava, 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 chicken, chicken, chicken. That's it. The rest of it I had to look up. I'm like, I don't know. Today, we're talking about marathon. Remember, it's a sprint, not a marathon. There's a lot of things going on with marathon, and they are now having their private play test going on. That's right, private NDA, which we all know if there's anything that anyone cares about, they will leak it. It will happen because people are so desperate for people to like this game that it makes sense that there will be leaks if there's something juicy. If there's nothing juicy, then we just know that there's nothing juicy. Bungie is getting desperate per Luckyy 10p. We're going to watch this video. We're going to check it out. Again, we're going to use the new overlay that I have here just because I like to give credit, and this makes it easier because it's either I give a little bar down below giving credit. Link will be down below, by the way. So if you don't like reactions, you don't like my opinions, I don't know why you're at the channel anyways. You weird person. Anyways, moving on. Marathon.
Whole new team. Bungie seems to be hiring a whole new team for the future development of Marathon, but that isn't even the craziest part of today's news story. And
let's stop and break this down, because I think this could go both. This is like this. People are like, oh my god, they're getting desperate. They're hiring new people. This could be good and or bad. Like, it could go either way. To be fair, investing more people, like more positions into a game. Like, we got Marathon Commerce and Event Art Lead. I don't know what events art lead. So I see commerce and events. So I'm wondering if this is like special events outside of the game or if it's events in the game. I don't know. I don't know, like, positioning, but to me, it sounds like it's events outside of the game. Especially if they had to redo all the art because it was stolen. Marathon Gameplay Engineer Lead. That's a pretty big, like, gameplay engineering is pretty important. These are leads, by the way. These are leaders. These aren't just like, that's just some dude. These are pretty important, ladies and gentlemen. But gameplay engineering, investment engineering, activities technical designer, mid to senior. Wait, they need from a mid to senior. Okay. Principal product manager and test lead, which is interesting. Meta games, gameplay systems. So it's very interesting that some of these are pretty, like, sound pretty core. Like when you're talking about gameplay, investment, activities, and then test lead at least, and then product manager. I don't know what it all entails, but these don't sound like some Joe Schmo job. These sound like these are pretty important positions, which makes me wonder, either did someone get fired, quit, or were these never a thing and they're just now a thing? Which, if they are now a thing, means that they're trying to invest more into the game, which could always be good for Marathon, giving it the leg it needs to actually thrive, or I don't know, thriving is the right word, have a chance to live.
get to that in just a moment. Let's start from the beginning here. Marathon Bulletin posts saying that Bungie is actively hiring new roles for Marathon. We've got the Marathon Commerce and Events art lead, which the first thing I have to notice is that these are almost all like higher up positions. You've got lead and some senior positions here. None of these are like straight up entry level positions into Marathon, which if they were just a bunch of entry level positions, no one would really care that much. It's because they're lead positions and senior positions that it's really alarming some bells for people. A lot of Bungie developers are either leaving this project or being fired from this project, as Bungie has announced an indefinite suspension of Marathon as
Yeah, that was new. Now, the thing is if people were being fired, it would have been, that's the part that's interesting. Is like, are people leaving or are they being fired? Because if they're being fired, we would know, because that's like a big thing for layoff. Whenever there was layoffs at Bungie, everyone knows about it. Whoever is interacting with the Bungie community, everyone knows about it. Like, it's a big deal, especially since they're not doing good. And it's a big deal because anyone who likes Bungie is terrified. And anyone that doesn't like Bungie is like, ha ha, see, they're doing more layoffs, mostly because they hate the leadership, which I want to agree. I hate the leadership too. Now we've got new leaders in Marathon. Whether that's going to solve the problems, I don't know. I don't see art director, which is a concerning thing considering the art Joseph Cross is highly responsible for the art theft and negligence of said art theft. The fact that he's still able to keep his job while other people, if they did lose their job, especially events art lead and all that, like if they lost their job, I'm going to be upset that he still has his.
Bungie has announced an indefinite delay of Marathon, which we were anticipating after everything that happened, right? After
There's
the
no
art
way.
theft scandal and after the terrible reception of the alpha playtest, a delay was inevitable. But an indefinite delay is very crazy, because that means that Marathon could be delayed for as little as 6 months or as much as 2 years. And when we look at all these different roles that are brought here, we have Marathon gameplay engineering lead, Marathon investment engineering lead. This gives me hints that Marathon is in for a long delay. I don't think that you switch up such higher up roles to just give a very short term, 2-3 month delay, 6 month delay. When you're switching positions like
So here's the deal. I think 6 months delay, we talked about to March. Sony did their little snippet investor call, whatever bull crap you want to call it, right? It was more for investors. It was never meant for me and you, people who play games. It was very fluff. But during their presentation, they showcased the guidelines for where Marathon would be released. And the end date of that quarter or whatever is March 2026. So by at least March, this should release. In which I calculate what was 6 months. So as much as I agree with him, I don't think that's what they're going for. I think they're going for less time, and it may not even be at March. It may be less than. So it may be less than 6 months that they have to beautify the game up.
this Marathon activities technical designer, mid to senior, you are making some massive shifts. And this is late stage development here, right? This is 6 years put into Marathon. The game was meant to ship literally in 3 months from now. And we are now getting a new Marathon principal product manager for game systems. And the last one here is the Marathon test lead for the meta gameplay systems. So some big roles being advertised for this game. And obviously these pay very well. I mean, if you don't know, game development is very lucrative industry to jump into. But with those big salaries comes the volatility, of course, if a game flops, which, you know, Marathon isn't looking very good, right? If we had to predict games that are going to flop hard in the next 5 years, Marathon is definitely at the top of that list. Currently, of course.
Yeah,
but
it
maybe
is.
Bungie can turn it around. Now, some questions from...
I don't know if they can. Maybe with more than 6 months, possibly they could turn something around. Like, here's the deal. I think unless you dramatically change the art, you're not going to turn it around. And I know there's a lot of people who are trying to fight this negative narrative, like, it's the game, Bungie, blah, 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 blah. You have to redo the entire artwork. You just have to. It will be the stain that will burden this entire game. Like, make it more Marathon, the game, the OG. Remove the overly saturated, bright ass colors and make it its own thing. I think that's the only way you're going to change is by changing the art. People, I love that people argue like, oh, gamers never forget, and then they get mad when I say that. They're like, what? Gamers don't forget; they always remember. The gaming world is very, very critical. It is very easy to get on gamers' bad sides. And when you do, there's very little forgiveness. I think only a couple of times have we seen it actually. We've seen a giant recovery like No Man's Sky, that people bashed the hell out of it, and it has turned a 180. But it just isn't as significant as if it was released as was. Like if it was never released as a dumpster fire, it would probably have had more love towards it. Project CD Red had a lot of history of love, but then Cyberpunk burned a lot of that. But they fixed it, they released it, and it repaired the damage that it caused with the reputation. And now people are more optimistic, but hesitant with the new Witcher game because they're like, okay, well, are we going to get the same thing with Cyberpunk? Like, are we going to get Cyberpunk after the patches or before the patches? Because if it's before, we don't want it. But if it's after it, we want it because Cyberpunk, it was amazing after they fixed it. It was amazing. Marathon has nothing to stand on. Like, there is no good reputation. There is no goodwill with Bungie. They're building a game on sand, and the game itself is like falling apart, basically, in the view of the gaming audience. And so I like to talk about that because you're trying to change the narrative. You're never going to change it if you're building on sand. And that's the problem. You've got to go hard. You got to go deep. Like if you want to make a solid foundation, you've got to prove it with action and not just pretty words.
The live stream on twitch.tv/Luckyy10p. What does it really mean when a studio hires senior devs this late? As I mentioned previously, it probably means like three things. One, you have various developers leaving this project, which I think there's going to be a decent amount of that, especially after the art theft. No one really wants their name to be tagged and associated with a project that is turning into a dumpster fire. It is more than likely going to be a massive disaster.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like if you're a Bungie employee and like this is your resume, the last thing you want is Marathon, the game known for art theft, when you're trying to transfer to another game or a different company, and they're like, what did you work on? Oh, Marathon. Oh, wasn't that game that people hate because they stole art? Yeah, you don't want that as your legacy, and it sucks because it's not everyone who worked on Marathon's fault. It's just not. It's unfortunate, but I would be jumping ship too.
We recently saw this, the game Concord that, crashed and burned, and all of the devs that are part of that really don't want that on their LinkedIn, right? You don't want to have, as you move on to the next job, people looking at your resume and saying, oh, so you were a person that worked on Concord or you're a person that worked on Marathon, two of the biggest gaming disasters potentially in gaming history. So that's the first inclination that I have, which is there's probably people who are in the higher up roles that don't want to have all of the blame pinned on them for Marathon.
I don't think people realize that are trying to defend Marathon how bad this is for Bungie. Like when we think of absolute disasters when it comes to video games. So we've had bad games, right? Bad games exist like Suicide Squad, Redfall, Dragon Veil. These are like the most pinnacle of like when people think of bad games, those are them. Obviously Concord is the top of the mountain that everyone referenced to. But we've had other disasters like the Day After. It was a scam game, but people were like going crazy about it for some reason. But it was a scam game. We've had other games that were overhyped, but like in times past, like I said, Cyberpunk, and it was a disaster. No Man's Sky. Fallout, was it 76? Was a dumpster fire trash can game. Like there were so many aspects like bad games that we have to reference. But this one takes the cake because I don't think we've had blatant art theft, first off, plus bad play test, unenthusiastic reveal. Like there is just so much negativity off the rip for this game compared to any other game that had issues. Like I don't even think Redfall, Suicide Squad wasn't received negatively until after it was released. This game hasn't come out and it has worse press than those games. And those games shut down. Except Redfall, I think it's still going. But Suicide Squad, the server shut down. Like, so many games that were not well received that had less negative press. And yes, people are interested which is a difference. Like they're actually interested to see what happens because Marathon was an OG, kind of like Halo. Think Marathon, you think Halo, like all these are OG titles, and people want to see what happens to them. But people are gonna like watch, but not actually consume it. There's a big difference there. People think, oh, good press, bad press is good press. It's not in the game world because thanks to Twitch and YouTube and streamers, people will just watch it and never actually consume it, which will indefinitely impact Bungie's bank. Like watching is great, getting eyes on it's great, but if it doesn't entice people to actually play the game, then you're not going to ever make money.
On being an absolute failure. And so their goal is to get out while they can, so that way they don't have to be left holding the bag. The second inclination I have is that there may very well be various devs that are actually being fired or laid off.
We've yet to hear this,
massive oversight in regards to the art theft controversy and just the in general oversight of this game being such a massive flop, right? Once you've delivered the alpha and everyone's seen its reception and it's received so poorly, the only thing there's left to think is that the people who developed this do not deserve jobs. They need to be laid off, they need to be fired, and new developers need to come in their place and do the job that they couldn't do. This might seem really harsh and really mean, and I'm not saying this to like every dev in a personal level. Like I know they have families and people that they support, and I'm not trying to take away their money and their income, but that's just how business works. When you do such a bad job like they did with
it's an abomination, stealing art, and then all these developers. I think everyone who followed Anti-Rail should be fired. Every last one of them. Every last one of them, unless they're not directly like, especially if you've seen their artwork and you're like, there's no way that you follow someone just to follow them without seeing their art. And then you see your own game, like, wait a minute, this seems oddly familiar, and you never question it. Yeah, I'm sorry, you deserve the boot.
The Marathon Alpha.
Because you're jeopardizing the jobs of everyone else. I think those people would deserve to lose their job specifically because they are jeopardizing the job of everyone else who is not directly attached to that artist in any way. Like, hey, I'm doing my job, but you are threatening to get me fired because of your stupidity, because you're doing the wrong thing. They are. Which, how do I want to put this? They are a detriment to the company, and they're a threat to the company because as long as they exist on the company, there's a chance that it will continue to do the same thing or give the illusion that they're still stealing art, which, by the way, those developers need to stop following artists completely.
You lose your job. That's just how it works in every industry. And if you don't lose your job, what happens is you deliver a disaster like Concord, which in turn makes you lose your job anyway. So you either lose your job earlier on in this early stage, or you lose it later on when the game actually delivers and flops. And lastly, the third methodology that Bungie might be cooking up here with this is that maybe they're actually taking a more radical approach and they're just adding more to the team, right? Maybe no one's leaving. Maybe there's not anyone being fired, which...
That's what I feel like is happening, is they're adding more to the team. Because like I said, if Bungie was firing or people were leaving that were these big names, like anything lead, people would be all over it because that's a big deal.
Is probably unlikely, but maybe they're actually just adding more so that way they can double down on just how much they need Marathon to be a big success. There's something that we've heard time and time again. Bungie needs this to be a success.
Yep.
Sony needs this game to be a massive success. They are banking on it. They have invested so much time, money, energy, resources into this being a success that failure for them is simply non-optional, which means that they're willing to hire additional lead developers to bring best and brightest they possibly can to this team to make this game a success. And I really hope that that is the outcome, because if it is, then there may very well be a chance that Marathon could do something, but it's something of a stretch.
I do think it's a stretch. Yeah. I mean, it's good that they're now investing into the game. I think it's a little late. It's a little weird that they're waiting so long to invest into it now after 6 years. But it is a sign that they're trying to invest and do something. But it's a flip flop. Like we thought leaders want it. Here's the thing. I don't think Sony wants it to flop in the sense that it looks bad on them, but I do think Sony wants it to not be as successful to the point where they can absorb Bungie and take over the board. And I think the leaders of Bungie would just want this game to skate by until they get paid, and then they want to dip. Because there's no shot that leaders, if they actually cared, that they would have they hesitated to delay, and they should have delayed it way after the reveal was so negative. They should have been like, okay, this is our sign. It's not going to be received well. Then they had the alpha. Oh, this is not being received well. Then there was art theft. Okay, that's when we decide we're going to delay it because we have all these stains on us, and very few are actually excited about this except for our paid shills and their community who are bots. Like outside of that, no one else is really excited for this game. It's dead on arrival. We need to invest and reset, especially after the art theft, because even without the art theft, this game was on a downward trend anyways. The art theft was just a nail in the coffin, but it was already going downhill.
And only time will tell. The next question comes to us from the TikTok live stream, which is, could this be Bungie trying to save Marathon before launch? And yes, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah, I mean,
Bungie was well aware of the disaster that was building, and that the due date of a September launch of this game would have been the worst possible outcome. This game would.
I do think, based on the hype, Borderlands 4 would have destroyed this game. Why would I ever give Marathon $40 when I could play Borderlands 4? There is a lot of hype with Borderlands 4 right now. A lot of hype. It would have destroyed Marathon. Marathon, even if it was a later release, it doesn't matter. People would still be playing Borderlands and not giving a shit about Marathon, especially since Marathon's paid, not free to play.
Have been dead on arrival. Period.
Oh, yeah.
No one above 50 IQ would disagree with that statement. The alpha was received.
No. Anyone with 2 brain cells could tell you this wasn't going to succeed.
So poorly and had such little interest. To pair that with the art theft scandal, there's just no way that they could possibly dig themselves out of this with the current due date of a September release of this game. So the only option truly was for an indefinite delay, as they've done now, or to just straight up cancel the game altogether. But as I've mentioned before, because they've already sunk about $200 million due to our estimations, I highly doubt that they want to just cancel the game so quickly. They would like to give it a second chance, a second pass through, hire additional lead developers, and see if they can change the art style, take out the stolen art, everything, right? And see.
I would think that you should dramatically change the art style. I don't think they will, but I think that they need to, just to change the narrative about the art. That was already a division point. I'm going to be generous and say 50-50, even though I don't think that's true at all. But let's be generous and say it was 50-50. You have half the community who didn't like it, half the other community that did. I think at this point, you just need to change it based on also with the art theft.
See if they can give it a second chance to breathe new life, and see if the gaming community will take to its new reception when they re-announce Marathon, which who knows when that could be. The third question here coming to us from Twitch is, how much impact can a new lead have this far in? That's actually an excellent question, because right now, like I said before, we're in very late stage development of this game. We're 5 to 6 years deep in development, and hiring all these new lead developers can.
That's the sad thing. This game looks like it was a Roblox game. The inventory looked like cheeks. Like, I know people want a glazed game, but I have seen well-polished AAA games that looks literally like a Roblox inventory when you're going through. It looks like an indie game. Nothing about Marathon screen, this is a AAA. It looks like an indie game. Like, it looks like if I were to compare this to other indie games, like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty good indie game. But you compare it to a AAA title, you're like, huh? That's the problem. People live in these little weird little boxes where they're like, yeah, this is great. This looks great. This is amazing. And it looks like a Roblox game.
Can do a lot if they're given an extended period of time, right? You already kind of have the bare bones assets of Marathon out there, right? You have the map there. You have all the plan, the timeline. I mean, they were meant to launch this game in September, so they were at least confident enough that this game was launch worthy as a Bungie title, which is meant to have a lot of weight in the gaming sphere, right? So they were meant
It used to, not anymore.
to have a September launch. Adding all these new lead developers and giving them enough time will be the real key here. If we're talking about a 6-month delay, maybe not enough time to change enough. A 1-year delay, now we're cooking. A 2-year delay, I mean, it could be a whole new game. If you had a 2-year delay with all the new lead shifts, this game could look and feel and play completely different than what we saw. It would.
I agree. However, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I'm not a developer. And as much as we would say this is great, that would be great for the game. This is a money right now. Marathon is a money sink, and we like to blame Marathon for Destiny 2 and its errors, and it probably is. That's not going to change as long as Marathon is continuing to be a money sink. Like, we can never. People want D3. Well, that will never happen as long as they're still working and funneling money into Marathon. Like this game needs to be out on its own and start bringing in money, or it's going to continue to pull resources from the rest of the company. And so as much as I'd be like, yeah, that's great. If I'm going to be I'm going to be honest. If I was just going to choose, I would rather Destiny get improved. And so I'd rather Marathon to just be out and flop and we go back to Destiny 2. Like I don't want this to be delayed more than a couple months. Strictly because I'd rather Marathon to be out and out of sight so that they don't put as much time and resources into it. So that we can focus on Destiny instead. That's my honest opinion. I'd rather Marathon to flop and we just go back to Destiny. And I think a lot of the Destiny community feels that way, especially the ones that have left the game. I feel like a lot of people feel that way.
Wouldn't even have to be called Marathon. You might not even recognize what the new iteration of it would be compared to the old iteration with a whole new lead team. So I'm very optimistic about the new lead team if they give them enough time. There's a possibility, right? But let me know what you think down in the comments. We have an indefinite delay. We have massive new hirings and leadership shifts. And we have Sony breathing down Bungie's neck, trying to get them to get this game out within this fiscal year. And that is March 31st, 2026. Will Bungie be able to make these massive shifts and deliver on that deadline, or are we looking for a potential 1-year or 2-year delay of Marathon? Only time will tell, but once we do get...
I'm going to end there. Link will be down below for you guys to check it out. A little delay to the party. I know there was the delay, and then the fact that they're hiring new people and they change. Like, all this is grand and great. Personally, I don't think it's going to be enough to save the game, and I kind of don't want it to be saved. If I'm being brutally honest, I kind of don't want it to be saved because then... even if Bungie fails as a company, Sony will absorb them. I do not believe that Destiny will die because I think it's a title that Sony will absorb and try to do their thing. So I think at least if Bungie dies, Destiny will still survive. And we've seen via Destiny Rising, the mobile game, that an entirely different company can continue to make Destiny feel like Destiny, but with some new twist, right? It still feels like Destiny. And I think even with Bungie not there, I can think Destiny exists. And yes, that's incredibly selfish. I don't care. I'm a consumer. I'm going to think about what's best as for myself as a consumer. My job as a consumer is not to care about every person's job, because if that was the case, we would all be depressed, because every time you go to McDonald's, you'd be caring about every employee that works there. Okay. Yeah. Let's be honest. My job as a consumer is not to give a shit about how people are doing. I'm there to consume the content or not consume the content. That's it. We can play these emotional, manipulative games of, oh, I can't believe you're not empathetic. Well, yeah, I can be empathetic, but it doesn't mean that I can't still be critical and expect and want what I want out of a product, considering I am the consumer and their job is to sell me a product. So, voice is still cracking because I'm still waking up. But that's the point, right? I think if they do get enough time, they could turn it around. But what is enough time? 2 years? Probably not going to happen. 6 months? I don't think it's going to happen. Especially if they're going to dramatically change the art. If they do that, I don't think they will. But you can let me know down below what you think. I think a good question is, all these are nice changes. What would be the change that you need to see for it to even have a chance to be on your radar of something that you'd be interested in even playing, let alone buy? I'll see you guys in the next video. Game out.